Next, we will use the absolute positioning principle we just learned to make such an interface. To make such an interface, first give such an interface. Let's go back to the case just now. First of all, let's see that one of the background colors is red, so we set one of the background colors, select one of our blessings, and set the background color to such a color. Next, let's do the content of the first volume. The first volume contains a cloud, and then such an auspicious year of the dog, and a series of lanterns. First, let's do the content of the cloud. What is the cloud? It's actually our picture, isn't it? So let me draw our picture here. Let's add such a motion on the left to it in the material. Since I draw the size of the picture at will, we can find that the size of such a picture is actually a little out of balance. How can we solve such a problem? In fact, we can tell you a little skill here. When we upload pictures, we can select such a picture first. We can see its property. Click a detail here. It is a size of 434 × 144, so we can also set our pictures to a size of 434 × 144. In this way, it is the original proportion of a picture. Then we click such a locked symbol, and then we change the width to 375. In this way, the proportion of such a picture is completely normal. Let's set one of its XY coordinates to 0 and 0, so that the picture on the left is ready. Next, let's look at the picture on the right. In fact, what has changed between the picture on the right and the picture on the left? Yes, it's just a flip, isn't it? So in fact, we can copy the picture on the left, and then paste it under the blessing page, change the name to our right cloud, and then rotate the right cloud at an angle. We can see that here is our level, our x-axis, and the value is our y-axis, so in fact, we are equivalent to making it rotate 180 degrees along our y-axis, right? So it rotates, but now you will find that such a right cloud is gone. Why not? This is because we let it rotate 180 degrees. It rotates 180 degrees based on its central origin. Now where is it? Did he come to our side? Amount to? So in order to see it, should we set a certain x-axis distance for it? With the increase of the x-axis, we can find that the material of the right cloud appears. How important is this cloud? After rotating around here, should its x-coordinate be 375 at last? But its origin is here, just 375 away from a point here, so we finished the last cloud. Next, let's make a lantern, and then choose the blessing here. Let's draw the size of the lantern first. Let's see how big the size of the lantern is actually. 67 × 114, so we can upload a lantern first. Here is a size of 67 × 114, and then we can lock it. If you think the lantern is too large, you can make an adjustment here, and it will automatically shrink in an equal proportion. It seems that 60 pixels is more appropriate. Let's set up the lantern first, put the first red lantern. Let's copy and paste a copy, because there is a red lantern on the right side. In fact, this red lantern can be calculated slightly. In order to be symmetrical and beautiful, we can calculate its coordinates slightly. First, its coordinates are 64. For example, at present, the distance on the left side of such a point is 64, so the distance of a point on the right side should also be 64, and what is the distance on the right side? It's 375, right? So for us, it's 375 minus 64 and minus its own width 60. So here we can calculate a little, 375 minus a 64, then minus a 60, and the final result is 251, so we can call its x 251. 251 its y-axis can be aligned. This side is 28, and this side is also set as one y-axis of 28, so that the two lanterns are completely aligned. Then there is a yellow lantern. In fact, the size of the yellow lantern is exactly the same as that of the red lantern. We don't have to adjust its size, so we can copy the activity, move it to the right, and then move it down. Then we replace one of its materials. This is our yellow lantern. For the same yellow light, we can also copy one and paste it on our page. Because it is 315 and its width is 60, it completely resists our right side. If it is completely against our left side, whether to change its x-coordinate to a 0, we can find that this side is completely symmetrical. Then next, let's do a banner like the auspicious year of the dog on our side. Ah, such a blessing. Similarly, pull it out to read auspicious to me. It seems that there is still a little pride. Let's take a look at the normal size, such a sign of the year of the dog. One of its pixels is 391 times 145, and the same 391 times 145, I still lock it, and then we set the width to 1, and another 275. The 275 size is appropriate. Then, in order to ensure that it is in the middle, the whole width is 375 to 275, the remaining average distance is 50 on the left and right. Soon sets the x value to 50 pixels, and love is just in the middle. Similarly, if you want it to be a little lower, you can manually adjust one of its y-axes to a suitable position. Okay, so our upper area is completely finished. But now I've found a problem. I'm the only one. Even if I'm here, does he block the back? What should I do if I want it all to sync under this widget? It's very simple, isn't it? I set such a background change to a unique queue order, and then select all the remaining stacking orders. Click the Safe Multiple selection to set all of them to the queue order of 2. See if a 2 is greater than a pair. Is this a bad policy for such a face now? Then again, in order to ensure that it is in the middle, the width is set to 275, and the overall width is 375, so the x-coordinate is set to 50. Now, even it is in a central position. Then down is the effect of a peach blossom. We select the blessing page and put a picture on its left. Similarly, let's take a look at the size of peach blossom first. The size is 176 times 292,176 times 292. Okay, let's choose such a picture. 176 times 292. It should be more appropriate for such a size. It can be noted that even if such a cherry blossom is located on a change of ours, it does not show why. Because we have set a queue order for our changes, and such a hardening does not set a queue order at present, right? In fact, we give it a 0 queue order, which is similar to that without setting, but our setting is still more rigorous. In this way, the printing on the left will be done well. Is the printing on the right actually equal to that we copy a printing like ours, and then turn it horizontally, so we need to copy a hardened printing, give it a 180-degree flip of the y-axis. Okay, let's find this print, and change its name to another print. We want to set such another print to its x-er. I don't want to move it here, because I want to ensure the same y-axis, but in fact, if you hurry up, you can roughly calculate this directly a coordinate of the x-axis. Similarly, drag it for about such a distance. It should be aligned. Just visually check it. If you are more rigorous, you can calculate it yourself. Oh, then there is another content of the central policy. I wish you something when the new year is coming. This is our Chinese font. You can't see it. Why is it blocked by such a change, right? We want to make it higher, so let's give it a higher queue order. Here, give it a queue order of 3. If you see 3, it will be greater than our change, so it appears. So change the name here. It's called When the New Year is Coming. You can choose a suitable font here at will. See that we can copy and paste a copy here. You can choose a suitable font here, and then change it to the same one here, and then paste it again. Then there is a column below. Paste another copy, and you can paste another copy court sexy exclamation point, and then in order to make it look better, we can give it multiple choices, and then go here for a vertical equal spacing. Okay, so it's all an effective equal spacing. Then we can do the lower side. The lower side is a dog first, right? Let's select a dog here and pull it out. The dog can't see it. What should we do to let him see it, right? Change its column alignment order. Set it to 5 here. It's a little higher. Similarly, the dog seems to have been handed in, so let's use the old rule. Let's take a look at the size of the dog. It's a pixel of 228 times 220. Similarly, we should set it to a pixel of 228 times 220. Yes, if your mentality is too big, you can lock it, and then we can drag it casually. It's almost so big. Here, we don't accurately calculate whether it is in the middle. Then next is to make my New Year's greetings. This is also a picture, isn't it? He ran to the back and couldn't see clearly. We gave it a higher position. It was bigger than the dog, so it was 6. If you think it's out of date, you can fix it with the method just now. We won't demonstrate it here. Then, there still needs to be a cloud here. Yes, put the cloud here. In order to look better, let's take a look at the size of the cloud. The size of the cloud is a pixel of 566 times 313, so 566 times 313, and then fix it. Then set the width to 375, 1 to 0, let it do it, and then move down a bit of. Okay, there is another cloud below. Let's also take a look at the other cloud below. The other cloud seems very long. It's 978 times 93. It's really long. 978 times 93 is locked, and then we move it a little. Okay, a general UI is ready. Then the reason why there is a scroll bar here is because of our goal: the previously visible elements exceed the elements of the whole page, so there is such a scroll bar. This scroll bar will be explained in detail in the next lesson. Here we are very general, you can change the cutting property to yes, so it will not have such a scroll bar. But at present, based on such a condition, there will be a big problem with a banner. What is the problem? Let's take a look at the preview here. We don't need to destroy this one. Let's simulate a mobile phone to see its effect in one of our inspections. We don't need these definitions. We can see that everything seems to be normal in the iPhone 6 at present. Let these owners ask everything about the iPhone 10. We can find out whether the following is plain or not, add a part of the content, and then I'll cut it down. You can find that it seems that we can't achieve an adaptive effect in many terminals. So if your phone is longer, right? There is no good way to display an iPhone X of one size. There will be a lot of blank elements below. So in such a case, how do we deal with such a problem? We need to use one of our widget, that is, one of our banners. This widget has two very important property, which is also different from the two property of other widget. So basically, we need to use banners to use these two property. The banner is only used with one or two attributes in. First of all, the first point is its overall layout property. When it comes to banners, we will add banners first. We will create a new page under the front end. Let's select such a page, and we will add our banners at the bottom of the page. You can find that there is a block on this side. If we select such a block, we will select our banners. By the way, one of its background colors is the one we have seen so far. As we said, it has two very important attributes, one of which is its overall layout. Why did I add the banner? It didn't let me make a plan, but it automatically appears here. This is because its overall layout defaults to the top left. I default its overall layout as the top center. It is here. If the overall layout is the top right, it should be on the right. We can see that the overall layout consists of 9 property: top left, top center, top left, top right, center left, bottom center right, bottom right, bottom right. In fact, it corresponds to 9 points of our screen, namely, 9 points like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, if you want the banner to be based on which position, you can choose a certain position. For example, at present, if you want the center of everyone, you can choose the center. If you look at the banner, it just happens to be our center position. This is the first property we use, which is our overall layout. There is also a very important attribute of the banner, which is a background mask. We can grind this background into an option to open it sensibly. You can see that after the start of this background mention, everything behind it is invisible. Why? This is because after the background film is opened, it has such an attribute called film layer. The default color model is also black, and its path value is 100, so no light can pass through. If we change the alpha value to 30 and click OK, we can also find that it can see a little content through the back. Here we can hide the banner first. I'll add a picture on this page to make it easier for everyone to see such an effect. Let me open such a banner again. If you can see it like this, you can see the content behind, but it will block the full screen. When will this be often used? Are we talking about a pop-up window, or when entering any information, in order to let others not operate on the following content and focus on the current content created by him, will we use such a sprouting property? So if you use such a scene, use one of our banners and open its background. If you don't want it to be all black, you can choose to set a color and a path value to ensure that you can see the following content, but it won't cause any false touch. We will use such a property again later when we talk about application. So back to an application like ours, how can we save the application and let it have a little bit of basic adaptive effect? In fact, this is a content of the overall layout of the banner. We select one of our blessings, and then we pull a banner with absolute positioning. We first set its background color to 1 blue. I set a little higher for these gestures, otherwise I wouldn't see him. I set a little more lazily. We changed its width to 50 of 50 and set it a little smaller. Then we changed the name of the banner to the upper layer, and then we selected all our contents from auspicious year of the dog to left cloud. We dragged it to the best policy. If you let go of a banner, you can find that so far such a best policy has been completed, and it seems that no effect has occurred. Similarly, even if I don't call it left middle, let's change the position. For example, it's called upper left. You see, now it is positioned at a point in the upper left corner. If it's in the lower left corner, it is positioned based on such a point in the lower left corner. Therefore, in an area of the whole part, all and contents are based on such a banner starting and leaving, and the banner has such an overall layout of an property, so it can help us to carry out a 3-segment layout. When you understand the content of the positioning point, change all its width and height to a 0 and a 0. Similarly, I change the width and height of the lower left to a 0 and a 0, and I change the width and height of the upper side to a 0 and a 0. So how do we actually do this case? We first use the banner to find such a positioning point in the upper left corner, and then in this positioning point, we finish all the best elements, and then I use the banner to find a positioning point in the middle side, and then finish the middle elements in the middle side, and then I find a positioning point in the lower left corner, and then finish all the elements in the lower left corner. In this way, due to its own rules, the banner will automatically find such 3 positioning points, and the elements in it are made based on such a positioning point. Therefore, we have achieved a simple and adaptive effect in this way. Similarly, if you think the position of the positioning point is too high, there are horizontal and horizontal offsets and numerical offsets, which is equivalent to making some offsets based on such a point. For example, if you think an element on the lower side is too low, you make it a little higher, and you can set a vertical element on your side. For example, set a 50 here, and then move a positioning point of the whole upward. 50 pixels is more appropriate. We must understand why such an element of a whole has an offset in all its positions, because all its elements are located under the content of such an absolute positioning banner. So who are all its elements based on? It is based on the relative position of its subcontainer, so it is equivalent to a change in the dynamic position based on such a point. Moreover, due to our banner, a point is automatically found. According to the size of a page, it will be automatically located to such a point. Therefore, this completes our very classic 3-stage 1 layout. Finally, let's review what we learned in this class. The first point is our absolute positioning principle. The absolute positioning principle contains 4 contents. The first is to define a relative position between the origin and the negative object through the fixed xy coordinate. Note that it only cares about a position between it and the negative object. This is also where we want to distinguish it from the corresponding positioning principle. Then the second point is very easy to understand, that is, the size is defined by fixed xy coordinates, and a position can be changed by dragging with the mouse. The third point is that the widget in absolute positioning is completely separated from its flow layout, and then the widget in this environment is finally located. It is a blue one. If we think that in this environment, you want to add a widget, we should first select a container with widget in the object number, and then add a selection in the widget column, select a widget that we want to add, and then finally draw a size of a widget that we want to add in our stage. In our absolute positioning, there are the following alignment, which is the most commonly used method to set the property, because we can set the property very neatly with a little calculation. If you do it roughly, you can also make it through the auxiliary line and keyboard, and then you can also make our menu bar align one by one. Then, for our hierarchical relationship, the larger the stacking order at the same level, the higher it is. Under different hierarchical relationships, one stacking order of subcontainers shall prevail. Then finally, there are two very important attributes about our banner, our overall layout, and one of our background masks. In fact, the content we made in this lesson is to first use the overall layout method of the banner. We first set the width and height of such a banner to 0 and 0, and then locate its overall layout to the top left, which is equivalent to finding such a point first, which is equivalent to that all elements are made based on such a point. Similarly, next, we find a positioning point on the left, and then make an element in the middle part in a content on the left. Then we use the overall layout effect of the banner to find another point in the lower left corner, and then offset it upward by a pixel of 50 through its offset. Then all the elements in it are laid out based on such a point. The above is all the contents of the absolute positioning principle. Thank you for watching this section.